Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to the regular meeting of the NID Irrigation District Board of Directors, October 27th, 2021. Would you all please join me with a salute to the flag, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Division 1.
Present. Here.
Division 2.
Here.
Division 3. Here. Division 4.
Here.
Division 5.
Here.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, we'll take public comment on items not on today's agenda. If you'd like to comment on any item pertinent to NID, start on your phone, and I see we have a hand. It says call-in user. Could you identify yourself and *6 your phone to talk? Whoever call-in user 1 is. Go ahead.
Hello.
Good morning. Welcome. Could you state your name for the record, please?
Hello.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Now I can. Thank you very much. First of all, good morning. I'd like to thank you for doing the Pledge of Allegiance. That's pretty awesome. I first would like to acknowledge to our community, I haven't had the opportunity to talk to her, Jennifer Hansen, your general manager. And the purpose of this phone call is threefold. My name's Oscar Schaefer. I've been with NID since 1970 and have received exceptional service. And I'd like to recognize 6 employees. All of them are great, but these are the best of the best. Ditch tenders Robert, John, and Frank. Dispatch Chris, Barbara, and Megan. And then if you have the time, I'd like you, if you already haven't done this, the trustee that got us all to where we are was Paul Williams. Do you folks remember him? Hello?
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for those comments.
And I just have one other thing. I just have one other thing to say, and that is, and thank you very much for your time. I would like to suggest that we get a group of people, such as myself and others, that have no interest other than to try to get the water delivered to our customers, ourselves, in a most economical and best way that we can. As you know, I think it's Public Waterworks, the next door neighbors that we have. They only charge, my son-in-law happens to be in that district, they charge half of what we charge. We're paying right now for the minimal amount, $125 for a quarter inch. And thank God we have that to give. But they're getting a half an inch. I realize it's only during the summer months for $56 a month. So there's something wrong with that picture. And the only thing I could say is actions speak louder than words. In the past administration, I thought, in my opinion, I'm just a working guy, thought that they had spent the money foolishly. You folks may disagree with me, but to beautify the Gold Hill yard was a total waste of money. Instead, that should have been done to put in for some of the other things that we needed done. I realize that maybe it made everybody feel good that here was a nice sign and identifying everything, but that wasn't necessary. Most of us couldn't even paint our buildings because we were all trying to get by during this pandemic. So again, I hoped that my last comment to Jennifer Hansen, the general manager, I could give her my personal phone number if she wants to explore that possibility. I wish her well, and I hope that she leads by example of getting things done, because it's been a while, in my opinion, please don't mean to offend anybody, that we've ever had a real good leader since many years. And, you know, we can't be running it that way. It is a community public agency, and we value it more than the goals in them hills. Hello?
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your call.
Thank you.
anyone else like to comment on items not on today's agenda? Star 9 on your phone at this time. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with our agenda. Consent agenda. I have a motion for the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to pull item 4, please.
Okay.
And I'd like to pull item 2.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion for the others?
I move that we accept consent agenda items 1, 3, 5. Is that right?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on these consent agenda items before us right at this time? Star 9 on your phone. Items 1, 3, and 5 at this time. All right, Madam Secretary, you call the roll, please.
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 3? Yes. Division 1,
Yes.
Division 2,
Yes,
Division 4.
Aye.
Division.
thank you. Okay, Director Peters, number 2.
Okay, Keen's coming in. I just have some questions about this, just to understand what's involved in this, because it's quite interesting the way it's written, and for the design to be $162,000 when materials and labor is only $250, it just seems out of whack, and that 162 was a low. So my first question is, my understanding is on professional contracts, you don't consider cost. The cost is in a separate envelope, and you consider qualifications. But we put 30% of our design on the cost of. So this seems like it's a unique situation, and I just wanted a little more information. You said there was $162,000 for the design because there's in-depth calculations and coordination that has to happen. But most all designs have in-depth calculations.
Well, so first of all, on the cost question, cost is usually considered. So typically what happens is the proposals come in, they're reviewed independent of the cost. So the technical qualifications of the team and the scope of work that they have proposed is reviewed by a team. That team scores that, and then the costs are brought into the picture and weighted appropriately.
Oh, after the
30%. So they are generally considered in the cost. In terms of the proportion of the work to the cost of the design versus the cost of the work, this is a relatively small construction project. I mean, essentially what we're doing is taking out a panel, person-sized panel that has old electrical, mechanical relays on there. So think of the old power meter on your house that used to spin around in circles, and now you've got the new smart meter in there. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the old meter, the old equipment that spins, and replace it with a computer. So it's a fairly simple construction project. All of the front-end work is all about calculating the protection. It's all about working with PG&E and making sure that the systems all work together and interact correctly. And then the construction is generally just installing computer equipment. So it's fairly straightforward.
Because that was the lowest bid. $400,000 for a $250,000 project. It just seemed really out of whack. But is that just from the design? It's $162,000 just for, at $500 an hour. That's 324 hours, or 8 weeks of work at 40 hours. So.
And that's
a lot of work. That's a lot of design.
There's a significant amount of design involved in this, and that's, there's a lot of design drawings that have to be reviewed and touched and worked on, each one of them. It's not a simple exercise to do all of that work.
Yeah.
One of the things when design consultants do cost estimate for plan preparation, they typically look at the number of plan sheets that are going to have to be included into the bid document. And electrical design always is just even if you just look at it from a pure drafting perspective, there's just a lot more information on each sheet. So you usually will find that the electrical sheets are more expensive to generate from an engineering perspective than, like, say, a civil sheet.
sure, I understand, yeah, I get that. And what's the time frame? How long is this gonna take? When are you anticipating doing the construction?
So they will design during the beginning of 2022. We'll procure the parts in mid-2022, and we anticipate installing it during the annual outage in 2022. So about this time
Next year.
We'll install it.
Next year.
Yeah.
Wow. And so it's just to protect the generation equipment or the
So this is transformer protection equipment, so this makes sure that we protect the actual physical transformer out there.
wow, that's crazy. That's a lot of money for a design.
Director
It could have been a
Johansson.
lot more, though. You know, I have been looking at this, kind of reinforces the value of competitive bidding. And,
Yeah.
really appreciate the time that you took to do that process. You know, I mean, it is expensive, Laura, but on the other hand, it could have been a lot worse.
I know, so much
And-
more.
And obviously, the value is there because all the bidders were so much higher. I mean, I really appreciated seeing this, and kind of reinforces the process that you're using in terms of getting the best value for this type of a project.
Yeah.
Good job, well done.
Good point.
And I think that it just gets back, measure twice, cut once.
Right. As long as because it is so much lower than the others, you know, why are the other ones so much higher? I mean, are we going,
First question.
like that other one, we get caught with change orders, oh, we didn't anticipate this because they low bid it. So, you know, it's both. I concur with both of these two statements that it is good we got the lowest price, but.
The consulting firm that we are using is a consulting firm that we've used in the past. He is a small shop versus some of these other companies. He has extremely low overhead because he works out of his house. I believe he may have a small office space that he rents, but very skilled electrical engineer that used to work for a large company, has gone out on his own and is doing excellent work.
Have we done this work for Chicago Park and Dutch Flat? Have we done this relay? It seems like we've done this relay protection work on other facilities.
This exact scope, I don't know what's at the other two, but they have been upgraded in the last 10 years or so.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is kind of
Okay.
one of the older pieces of protection equipment that we have out there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the explanation. It just is really
Good job.
crazy.
So I move that, what is it? We award the contract in the amount of $162,000 to GS Engineering for design services for the Rollins Powerhouse Relay Protection Upgrade Project, and authorize the general manager to execute the appropriate documents.
I would second.
Go ahead.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Item number 2, the consent agenda. Rollins Relay Protection Improvements. Would like to comment this morning, starting on your phone? Right, Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 1,
Aye.
Division 4,
Aye?
Division 2.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, Director Heck, number 4.
Thank you. So I had a lot of questions about this, actually. Thank you, Ken, for being here. Let's see, and Jennifer answered some of them for me, and then we can see. So for the benefit of the public, so I had asked how old this power plant was, and it was constructed in '84. Apparently, we didn't construct the powerhouse. That seems a little odd.
Correct.
Who would have done that?
It was a private developer at the time.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I'm not sure what happened with them, but,
Okay.
Did they give it to us, or did we buy it?
I don't have the history on that. I believe they gave it to us.
Yeah, I did too.
I'll bet.
They went under.
So one of the things that was of concern to me is the expense side of this equation. And what I noted is that in your little matrix on page 2, that we don't really have a clear, you know, overhead support number other than the $33.17 an hour. And I'm trying to understand, was that attributed to the years 16 through 2020? Because there's a blank number there.
So my understanding of what was done for that piece of the analysis is that he took the average hours worked over that period annually and applied that number to it. And so it is an average, it wasn't broken out by the year.
Okay, but where does that overhead support number appear? Are you saying that it was just within these other numbers?
No. So the average support number was calculated, and now this gets back to one of the main reasons why we're going to a more traditional cost allocation for distributing our overhead costs amongst our cost centers, is because this is a very imperfect number. So that number was estimated, or even to the level of guesstimated, based off of taking overhead expenditures and then dividing them by the number of man hours that were indicated to be worked on that particular powerhouse. Now, with that said, it really is a guesstimate based off of some incomplete data. And so once we move forward with the cost allocation, those will be it will be a very specific down to the dollar number that would then be applied to hydro, and then it would be trickled down to the powerhouses. So for the purposes of this exercise, we felt that it was important to provide a number and not exclude those costs in their entirety. I do think that it's a decent number. To me, it looks about right. However, like I said, once we go to a formal cost allocation, you'll be getting an actual real number.
Okay. And then I note that, also in the bottom of page 2, that our estimated profit from this is $142,000. And, I asked to, I asked to pull this item because I wanted this as an opportunity, which I appreciate, Keen, because some of us have been asking for something like this, which is like, what are the expenses of each one of these plants? What do we make? So that we can see a cost-benefit analysis of them. So thank you for doing this on this one. And I just thought, well, it would be good for our board to, have this facilitate the discussion somewhere down the road about cost analysis on some of these plants. Now, is this, Jennifer, I didn't quite get, is this a FERC facility?
This is a non-FERC facility.
It's a
FERC
non-FERC.
is exempt. I'll let Kian explain, but FERC does have some inspection obligations.
Yeah, so it operates under a FERC license exemption. So it is overseen by FERC, but there is no relicensing process like there is with the BEAR license.
And do we pay fees to FERC? Is that in here? Federal, state, and county fees?
There are fees for the
Inspection.
dams that go to FERC,
And that would be captured in this federal, state,
That
county
would be-
fees line.
That would be counted.
yes.
And then, we don't account for really any legal expenses. And then the other thing we don't have in here, and that would be hard to account for, is really, what is the risk reward of this plant? And I think that also can be a bigger discussion for us. If there's something that blows up or goes out or somebody gets hurt, we're getting pretty thin on the amount of money that's made here. And so that is a concern for me. And then in the valuation part, where you talked about assuming revenue expense averages as you calculated, then someone gave a 5% cap rate to the...
What page are you on?
That's on page 3. It's like the last paragraph. Someone gave and I don't know who did this, but I'm just interested, how was that cap rate determined as it relates to this plant? Because in my world, cap rates fluctuate with market, and they are not stable over a 20-year period. Today's cap rates are different.
Right. So this was completed by the finance director, and in this particular situation, so the capitalization rate, as you are aware, Director Heck, is related to what's the value if we were to sell the asset.
Right.
So there is not going to be as solid of market data as we would find in traditional asset sales, because they are not changing hands as frequently as, say, a building or a piece of land.
Yeah, I get that.
So I think that it was more of a general kind of guesstimation as opposed to anything based off of a true market analysis. From our perspective, it's probably one of many factors that you should check in on, but not really a decisive factor for our situation, as in, we're most likely not going to sell the asset unless we determined it to be surplus. But it's a very valid point that that's probably not up to standard for determining capitalization rates as you traditionally would expect it to be.
Right, and also, you know, when you're determining the value of an asset, you might attribute a cap rate based on the income, or, you know, the net operating income, but then you would then further discount the repairs and the maintenance and you know, the capital that is going to have to go into it. So, you know, I just was looking at this valuation and thought, that doesn't, is it accurate? I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
from a public agency perspective, what we traditionally look at and gauge the health of any specific spend is your total asset value and your ongoing depreciation value. Now, those are kind of those non-cash items,
Right.
but they are relevant from an accounting perspective. So what you do want to be looking at is, over time, are we experiencing depreciation that's exceeding the value of our assets? And what that tells you is that we're probably not doing enough capital replacement. Once we get more sophisticated as an agency with our finances, depreciation can be used to make a judgment on how much revenue you require on an annual basis for capital replacement. And then you can utilize those numbers to build them into your rates or into your revenue models in this situation. We're just not that sophisticated yet. We're kind of doing more of the pay-as-you-go capital funding program. So from this perspective, this information might not be very valuable for consideration of this particular agreement. But like I said, I think it does provide value on a little bit of a check-in, right? So, yeah, this is one factor you'd want to say, okay, you know, we're entering into this contract, we're only going to be making $100,000, and it gets more relevant in determining capital replacement. If your capital replacement,
right.
That's right, ding, ding.
if your capital replacement isn't adding value to your system and you're just starting to Band-Aid systems together, and you're starting to see your maintenance costs exceed this capitalization rate, then that's the time for us all to say, you know, should we be continuing to repair this? Should we continue to Band-Aid this item? That's where that really kind of comes out of effect.
Yeah, because that was the other thing, and thank you for bringing that up, is that in this budget, or this expense budget, there is no capital outlay in here.
Right.
You know, so, anyway, but the conclusion that I drew was this particular plant is not terribly cost-effective for us, maybe. And so I just wanted us to highlight it and think about looking at these plants individually on a cost-benefit analysis.
You would expect more.
I would expect more, yeah,
Yeah.
more revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like, yeah.
That's kind of a subjective number for us. I mean, without having, I had agreement, right? This is
Yeah.
just like hay press was when we had the discussion about
Exactly,
buying hay
yeah.
press, the revenue was $100,000, and we go, okay.
Or
this is-
25 or whatever. it was.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that was it. I just really wanted to have that discussion. I'm fine with the contract, you know, I'm fine moving forward, but, yeah, and I'm glad it's only a 2-year agreement. So that we-
Yes.
And that is one of the reasons that they proposed a 10-year deal. We said we're not there yet. And so, I think that when we come back in 2 years, it'll look a whole lot different, from the understanding of the financial picture.
Good job.
Well, thank you. I don't know if other
Director
Brad
Peters?
has
I have-
questions. or
Yes.
comments.
I have a quick question. On the contract on page 8, the contract quantities, the megawatts, it says that every month of the year, we're contracting to provide full NQCs, and I guess NQCs in the glossary, I was really stupid with the glossary's net qualifying capacity.
Yes.
And so, does that mean that because my understanding is this is a run-of-the-river plant. We don't run this plant every month of the year.
Yes, that's correct. So at the beginning of, early in the year before the contract goes into before the calendar year, the California Independent System system operator goes through and determines what the net qualifying capacity for each unit for each month is. And so it's this predetermined number.
And that's a 10 megawatt hour month, to 10 megawatt month.
Yeah, it varies by month.
Well, the budgetary impact says the CAISO's net qualifying capacity of 10.39 megawatt months.
I summed those up, so it is broken down by each individual month. There's X amount per month, and so I just summed those up into the 10 point, whatever it was. And to show a budgetary cost estimate number. So it is broken up by month, and it's.
Because why would a contract say full NQC if it's really different every month?
Well, so we don't know what the NQC will be in 2023 yet. So we're saying whatever CAISO comes out with as the NQC, we're going to sell them.
I see. Okay, and so is there, what if for some reason we don't have that available? Instead, we'd have to make it up from somewhere else or something, is that?
It can be, so if the Powerhouse is unavailable, if we have a catastrophic failure of some equipment out there, we will need to buy replacement resource adequacy.
So that would take away from the profit, we'd end up having to pay them.
Well, I mean, if we have a catastrophic failure, we have a real problem, right?
Right, no, but if.
Revenue, we're not
right.
paying for
Catastrophic.
repairs, we're paying for replacement capacity. We have insurance. Yeah.
To do that, okay. Okay, so it's not like we're committing to something that may or may not be available.
Well, there is risk, right? So if there is a failure, it won't be available, and we can't sell it, and we will have to pay to replace it.
Okay. Yeah, okay, well, that's good. I just wanted clarification on that and to find out where that came from, the net qualifying. So ISO determines that capacity.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, and I do concur with Director Hex. We don't have the maintenance expenses that we put on, and we put a lot of maintenance.
Those are included in those numbers.
Maintenance is there, but we don't have the capital.
Capital, okay.
Capital in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, very good then. I guess for 2 years we'll have, and I do agree, we really need to do a cost benefit of these smaller facilities to make sure they are.
The finances are better understood.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, so I would move that we approve a contract for the sale of portfolio content, Category 1 product resource, contingent bundled renewable energy credits, and contract for the sale of designated resource adequacy, capacity of resource adequacy attributes, local resource adequacy power, and if applicable, flexible. The rest of that.
And authorize the general manager.
And authorize the general manager to execute the documents.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any public comment this morning on this item? Item number 4 on the consent agenda, Combie South Powerhouse Purchase Agreement. If you'd like to comment on this item, star 9 your phone at this time. Last chance. If you'd like to comment on this item, star 9 your phone. All right, Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Division 5,
Yes.
Division 3,
Aye.
Division 1,
Aye.
Division 4,
Aye?
Division 2.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Ken. This is interesting stuff. So we learn something new every day. Okay, General Manager's report.
Thank you, sir. I just have a couple of very brief items. The one is in regards to the voluntary agreement discussion. The conversation has somewhat been kick-started, although we have not been able to actively participate, so we're kind of working on that particular issue, so I'll provide some updates once I get a little bit more information. And then the second item I wanted to update the board on was regarding the IT situation. As the board is aware, we did have that intrusion into our IT network. Staff is still working diligently to resolve those issues. We are starting to do the more in-depth investigation on exactly how, what, and what is going on from a forensic standpoint. So stay tuned for feedback regarding that we are building our systems back up, and we're getting much better every single day. So if you have any specific questions, I can try to answer them, but also just once again, a big kudos to the IT staff who's been tirelessly working on the issue. So it's been very, very much appreciated. And then I was just going to let Mr. Jones provide a brief update on, I know there was interest regarding the very large storm we had, which we did get a ton of rain, as everyone knows, but we actually did really well. So I know there was interest on how the storm impacted the burn scar, so going to let Mr. Jones provide that information.
Great. As you know, we got somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 inches within that short window of time of the recent rain event, and National Weather Service was sending out national weather warnings. The local authorities sent out various evacuations, so it was a real event. If anybody was around the area, don't get in your car and drive. It was a pretty cool, real event. Many of us were very worried about the potential debris flow and landslide potential issues within the Bear River, both at the Bear River Canal, which is owned by PG&E, which conveys water for PCWA and NID and PCWA, and the river itself. Thankfully, I can report that we had no major issues within the river itself coming into Combie Reservoir. Doug Roderick and I went out on Monday morning, got some reports back from Hydro on Sunday. There was a picture taken on Sunday afternoon around 4 o'clock that Kian shared with me, and it looked like a nice fall, calm afternoon at the Combie Dam. The river was clear. It was very interesting. Monday morning, once the rains had subsided somewhat after Sunday, it started to get a lot more muddy. And so we saw a lot of dirt and mud in the water, which is normal after a rainstorm. The water was flowing over the spillway at Combie Dam come Monday morning, so the Bear River was running brown, which is common after any storm. But what we didn't see, and I haven't heard from the operations any concerns about the uptake into the pump systems at the Combie North plant in order to send it up to the Lake of the Pines water treatment plant. So we didn't see any ash, excessive issues in there. There was no large debris or woody debris on the existing log boom at Combie Reservoir, so we're not seeing any large debris coming down. We went up just above Combie where the river enters kind of through that Tykert area, and brown muddy water, but all clear, no log jams, no debris. So I think we were lucky, and I think we're happy. We completed, just kind of back up, NID completed about 85% of the work that we anticipated as kind of priority areas for our 320 acres, which was, we identified about 100 acres of greater than 40% slope within the burn scar that would have effect into the Bear River. We successfully completed mastication, thinning, erosion control measures with 3 different local contractors on about 85 acres of our property prior to, and I think they kind of cleaned up on that Thursday or Friday, so right before the rain really started. So we weren't able to get in the air and do some drone photos and videos, but I anticipate we'll be doing that. I want to do that this week, get in the air, so we'll come back with some photographs, some video for you in maybe next board meeting or very soon to give you some visual representation of what's out there, what happened, and some of the work that we have done, because we've taken quite a bit of photo documentation of it. And I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah, we're happy. We're happy. There's a lot of private land in there too, so, you know, as my staff tells me, well, the first rain, it absorbed.
Yes.
We're really wondering what's gonna happen in the second big inundation rain. So hopefully we'll knock on wood and wait for that, but, gonna continue to go out there and clean up and do what we can for erosion and areas, and work with our local partners, who are working with private property owners along the burn scar and see what they can do, so to be determined, and it's still ongoing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yep.
You know, one observation I had in our local canals, the water, NID had worked, the staff had completely shut off the water. I've never seen them actually shut everything down before, and, I mean, the canals were all running quite full, but, during, you know, kind of as the event occurred. But anyway, I just appreciated that the staff is working hard to steward that, what water we have.
Yeah, what Chip and his crew do every, you know, we see that storm coming in, and everybody saw that storm coming, we shut the heads of every canal off.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, it does take, according to Chip, about almost two full days to shut every single canal down in what they refer to as deading the canal. And then after that big of a storm, then it's all hands on deck, all maintenance staff walks every canal. So it is a lot of hard work. And yeah, and then we do put additional staff on call because there's emergencies in the middle of the night. You know, we did fare really well, but it is a large attributed to all the hard work staff does when they see a big storm coming.
Do we know how much precipitation we got up in the high country and you know, how it affects reservoir storage?
We don't, I don't have the final numbers yet, but we will send that out.
Thank you. Yeah, getting calls about.
That was-
Everybody's.
Everybody wants to know, what did we get?
What did we get it?
Rollins rose quite a bit, Scott's rose quite a bit, not sure about the upper country.
Director Peters.
Are we utilizing our drone for some of this canal inspection?
I'm not aware that we are, but I can ask.
Seems like that would be,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea for sure. Easy way to get a bird's eye view.
rather than walking all of them.
Save people walking.
Yeah, part of what they do when they walk is they're pulling debris out of trash racks and doing those things, so it's one of those, you know, we're doing stuff as we're going, yeah.
That wind was pretty darn heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a little drone would be flying all over the place.
Yeah, that is.
Oh, even on Monday, even after the storm, it's
Well,
really
after-
calm.
Monday was.
I was meaning during the storm.
No, I'm not talking about during the, I'm talking about after the storm, yeah.
Yeah, we had some really good downpours on Monday.
Yeah, we
I think that there was some,
Yeah, it's still coming.
some more intense cells than we even saw during the main storm event on Monday afternoon.
In upcountry, huh?
Yeah, we saw one on our way home, I know both Greg and I hit it, and it was probably a solid purple cell for sure.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mean between here and Placid?
Yeah, on 49, it was the hardest I had seen it come down during that storm event.
Wow.
Good news.
Yeah, and we'll keep updating you. Like I said, I think it would be good to get some photos so you guys can get a picture of what it was, because we've got some interesting before. We've thrown the whole area anyway prior to the burn, so we've got video prior, post the burn. Now we'll have it prior, post the rain event, so
Yeah.
just keep building that data and that video storage and photo storage, so
The grasses are germinating also. That's gonna hold it
Yeah.
that's exactly, yeah.
warm.
Good. Thank you, Greg. Anything else, Jennifer?
Yep, that was it.
Okay. Board of Directors reports. We'll start with Director Johansson this time, goes this way. Any report? Caught you off guard, didn't it?
Yeah, I didn't get the kayak out and go down to our ditch, but probably could have. So what, November 18th, the Penn Valley MAC, we talking about the plan for water and the backbone extension program, and Jennifer and I will attend that. You got that email?
I do.
Go good.
I do.
All right, and just a lot of interest. Went to Ag Pass training on Monday afternoon. That's if you have a fire, how to get back in, tend your animals. OES was there, Sheriff was there, CAL FIRE was there, Animal Control. It was really good training. So if you have animals, next training, well, it's today, out at the field station. But then that's it until next spring. So they're working on ways of ag people can get back into their lands after a fire.
this is the certify that you have animals to go take care of when you get through fire lines one? Is that this one?
Kind of, they're not gonna send you in if the fire's active.
Well, no, but it was to let you through.
Yep.
Yeah,
And you
when
can't get
get
through
when you
unless you
can't,
have the
yeah, yes, you have unless you have the pass.
Yep,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the training,
and the training, yes.
so. Yeah, there was a comment at breakfast on Saturday morning, but I'll keep it to myself.
Okay, now we're all curious.
Probably
Well,
fine.
people are moving. And not because of us, but we help the situation.
Thank you, Director Johnson. Director Heck?
Yeah, I have a couple things. Yesterday, I attended virtually the Disadvantaged Communities Workshop put on by Cal EPA, and it wasn't directly applicable to, because it was more about disadvantaged communities with regard to pollution and, it wasn't just water related, but it was interesting from the perspective of how they are defining disadvantaged communities and where the money is going for these disadvantaged communities. So I came away with a lot of knowledge and some confusion, but I have some good resources for us. They are doing an extraordinary job mapping the disadvantaged communities in California as they define them.
How
Who
do they
was
define
it? It was Cal EPA?
Yeah, you can go Cal EPA and, I didn't bring the notes, but there's a really great mapping site. If you go to Cal EPA and then, they call it, you guys, I'm sorry, I'll send it to you because I've got the notes from.
We can send the link out. It is interesting.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I have seen it before, yes.
Oh, you've seen it
Yeah,
before?
Yeah.
Well, they did this one, but they called it 4.0. So
Oh,
it's
good.
their big update.
Update.
Yeah, it's their big update.
That would be great.
Yeah, it is. Of course, most of the disadvantaged communities lie in the valley.
And are they using the same where they use like 17 different indicators, like
Yes.
age and asthma and,
All of them, yeah.
a
they
bunch
have-
of, there's,
they
it's from
have-
Cal, it's Air Board,
I think they had,
The Air Resources
Air
Board
Board.
has the main
right?
disadvantage
Yeah.
community calculator, however, the Water Board also has a.
yes, it was the Water
Right.
Board, the Air Resources
We
Board.
contain more DACs here from the Water Board's assessment than we
Perspective.
do from
Right.
Air Resources.
That
But,
air,
it really informed me about, the money that will become available and is available for disadvantaged communities and where we lie within that. Not surprisingly, we don't much, I mean, there's a few little isolated ones, but they fall way below where some of the other ones are in terms of priority. Huh?
Fresno.
Yeah, oh yeah, Fresno
Tulare
Valley.
County.
Tulare.
Well, anyway, so it was fascinating. I'll send a link out to the mapping because you can just, it's very, very,
yeah.
targeted, very specific. So I did attend that, and that was good. I will be attending the Loma Rica Road Association meeting Friday night, and hoping I get my update from staff. And they've got a project, as you guys remember, we approved a project, and it's in full construction up there. And there's been little bumps in the road along the way, but our staff has just been amazing. And the feedback that I get routinely is, oh my gosh, these guys are the best. They're wonderful. They clean after themselves when there's a problem. I'm hearing nothing but absolute praise for our staff and contractors who are up there.
Nice.
Yeah, isn't it? I know. It's like, oh boy, somebody's happy. This is good. So that's it for me for now.
Okay, segue on that just a
Yes,
little
please
bit.
do.
City of Orland got $7.7 million from the Department of Water Resources, and because they logged the wells, and this is for backbone extension program, they logged 224 reports of distressed wells and 157 dry wells within that 224. So they were able to get the money already from Department of Water Resources. And then there was more money for people who couldn't hook up, and they're getting tanks.
I thank you for that. I wanted to, there's one other thing that I'm involved with and doing, and that is Greenhorn Road Firewise Association have applied for it, and it appears that they will be successful through the county, who have a lot of various funds, opportunities. And what's going to happen is they've applied for water tanks. Very large water tanks to be placed at intervals along Greenhorn Road for the specific purpose of fire prevention and water availability. So I'm attending the Greenhorn Firewise community meeting. I think it's another week.
There's one in Penn Valley. Well, Joey, those guys.
Yeah, and so I've been working with the county, who, who's holding the purse strings, and they're about to make announcements. I think there was about 10 different small agencies and groups of people that applied for a specific pot of money, and it looks like the screen writers will get some. So there you go.
Good.
All good?
Okay.
That's it for me.
Director Hick? Director Peters?
Okay, all of us got a letter from one of my constituents this week about turning off the water so early. She found out that it turned off on Friday. It went into our spam folder. But I talked to her last night, and she was very upset initially because she's an IT person. She goes, we're not so upset about the outages, but we really are upset that you can't set up a notification system by Canal. And she's an IT professional. She's got 30 years of IT experience, and she knows database. She goes, I'll volunteer. I will come and help you guys set up a database. But I received a lot of outreach to say, canals are going to, especially winter water customers, our canals are down quite a bit. She says it would be so simple just to send out a text or, gather information from people that are interested in getting notified. But by the time it was over, she was okay with it, but she really wants to help to try to get us our notification system in place. And so I told her.
That's one of the things we really want to encourage, especially winter water customers, to do have some storage on hand, because some outages occur without very, very little notice.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't want them to be in the position of, I got a notice, I didn't get a notice, I don't have water.
Right.
We really should keep a supply of water.
Right. I agree. She does that, and she did say she does have a tank, and she just didn't get around to filling it. But
And that's exactly what we're dealing with at our place.
Oh, really?
With the winter water, yeah.
Yeah, you get caught up. So anyway, I promised her I would raise that concern, and so that's that. And tomorrow, Karen and I are meeting with representatives from Congressman Lamalfa's office and Assemblyman Kiley's office to talk about all kinds of federal and state funding opportunities for the district. And I've invited Greg, and if you'd like to come, we'd like to have staff attend that as well.
Yeah, I hope one of you can come.
Yeah.
This is first I've heard about it.
Yeah, it just came up late yesterday.
Director Hall?
On Friday, Laura and I had our quarterly meeting with PCWA, and we had Chip and Doug participating as well. And so we toured the Ophir plant, which was an amazing facility. And one of the things that I took away from that, reinforcing some of the challenges we have here, is that 90% of PCWA's customer base is served through that one facility versus the geographic footprint that NID is serving necessitates these smaller local plants for water treatment because of the nature of our district. And just thinking about the different economies of scale and the challenges really of serving our area versus that area. And not to say they don't have their challenges, but it just made me appreciate the complexity of what we manage in NID, and that at face value, it's hard to compare apples to apples, because you're really not comparing apples to apples.
Right.
And it wasn't as apparent to me until I saw that and had the chance to hear about how they serve their community. And then the other thing is, they have a pipeline that goes from the American River to that plant, and the cost of that pipeline was $200 million. So it's, straight through solid granite and who knows what. And then my understanding is the treatment plant facilities it will be about $90 million to do the upgrade that they planned for. So you're talking $300 million that has to be funded, and for the pipeline, they had some support funding, but I mean, we're talking about massive amounts of money that have to be planned for. And anyway, wow, a lot of capital investment there, and I found it really interesting.
And another interesting thing about that is that they have a lot of new construction, and so they have a lot of developer funds that help pay for this, so they do have a much larger income stream when they build these new neighborhoods and communities. But it was fascinating tour. I recommend it for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's
worth it.
Definitely.
And they're going to be building that Ophir treatment plant there. They want to have it starting construction
within
5 years. And so our board, we have the decision of right now, we wholesale the water to them and they treat it and distribute it. But looking to the future and looking as we expand in Placer County, because the sphere of influence of Lincoln does go all the way up to Weiss Road, so there is potential in out years for more treated water customers in that area down there. So we've got to start thinking about in our capital plans, are we going to participate with them and buy in and have a more direct relationship with our customers down there, or continue just wholesaling the water. So it was fascinating, just a very fascinating tour.
What's the capacity going to be of the Ophir plant?
30 MGD.
Yeah, it's a package plant, so they'll be bringing on it in phases. I think that they're shooting for the first phase to be 10 or 12.
Yeah.
One of the challenges currently is Lincoln's the retail water provider within the city limits, so they actually buy wholesale water from PCWA. We sell raw water to PCWA for treatment. They treat it, and then Lincoln buys that wholesale water. And for the most part, they rely on their own storage, with the exception of a couple of the high elevation areas.
Mm-hmm.
So the water you mentioned, the pipeline, so that plant isn't serving all of their, obviously they're not serving all of their, I know this is not an agendized item, right?
It serves the predominance of their treated water.
Is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the water we sell them goes, where is it treated then?
They treat it.
Yeah, Pleasant. They haven't built the Ophir plant yet.
The overplant's up to, yes, the
No.
Ophir plant.
Treat it down at
The
Pleasant
water
Grove.
they're buying now and treating, where are they treating that? At the Ophir plant?
No, there's no Ophir plant yet. That's
Okay.
just pump stations, 3 pump stations
Oh,
right
that's
now
a
there.
pump station, okay.
It's just 3 combined pump stations taking water from 3 different sources and putting it out into their system.
So where are they treating the water that they're serving now?
Right now, they have a Pleasant Grove treatment plant.
Oh, okay.
That's reaching
That was my
capacity.
confusion, okay.
Yeah, the Ophir treatment plant will not only provide treated water for their treated water customers, for Rockland treated water customers, because they are direct customers of PCWA, for Lincoln wholesale water, but they've also been looking into partnerships for other partners with the city of Roseville. The city of Roseville is trying to reduce their reliance on the Folsom Lake supply, which speaks to, I think, some of the things that always have to take into consideration with these large capital projects is you need partners, right, for a funding perspective. It starts to limit your bonding capacity or your ability to fund these large capital projects. But what it also speaks to is large capital infrastructure projects require a lot of times decades to get going, right? To fund, plan, to get the regional support, to get the regional partnership. So it's always something to keep in mind.
And that's why they've invested in this pipeline, because that's where their supply is, not on the other side.
Right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was also fascinating. They have a planning staff of four engineers that's their full-time job, planning for the future. So they had to envision this, like you said, 20 years ago to know that this is where they're going. So they have really solid, it was just fascinating.
Cool.
Well, in that vein too, I think it speaks to the need. Sometimes I think when we're making investments, it can seem like, oh, come on, we can't afford that now. But sometimes you can't afford not to.
Yeah.
And they had, because they had that long-range vision, they bought land, they've had it all set up. I mean, they have the complete design schematics all done, and what they're waiting for is really when the cost of construction drops, then they will start building. And so they've positioned themselves to be able to do that. And I think as we start the plan for water, we can really be thinking about that longer view, and so I think it's super exciting.
It's super exciting.
Okay, we're all excited.
We're all.
Very good, thank you, Director Hall. Okay, and I have no report except the observation about the rain. It was like, we were all thinking this is gonna be a atmospheric river. My observation, it was a heavy rain, but it wasn't the scary type rain that makes dams look like they're over top. But really, really pleased that happened, so. All right, with that, we will solicit public comment for any items to be considered in closed session. I'd like to comment today on items to be considered in closed session, star 9 on your phone.
Mr. Chair, while we're waiting, I do not expect a specific announcement. I think it'll just be direction given.
Direction given, okay. Last chance, if you'd like to comment on items in closed session today, star 9 on your phone. All right, with that, we will close the open the closed session and closed session.